onto the homily. In the past, I've been quite open about my father's faults and his mistakes, so much so that a few people have said to me, they think that I don't love my father. So let me clarify, I actually do love my father. I am deeply grateful. My dad gave me a number of gifts. He gave me a sense of justice, always wanting to stand up for the little guy. He gave me a love for classical music. He gave me freedom to follow God, even though he disagreed. And most importantly, he loved me, and I felt that he loved me. So whenever I bring up my father's mistakes, it's not because I don't love him. It's just because I'm trying to be objective. So now let me ask all of you. Let me ask you about your own father. Would you say, when you think about your father's strengths and weaknesses, would you say you're too easy on him or too hard? Think about it. When you think about your father's strengths and weaknesses, would you say you're too easy on him or too hard? So I'm focusing on fathers today because the gospel is about Jesus the Good Shepherd, and that analogy speaks in a special way to the heart of men. Today is also the World Day for Vocation, specifically to sacred orders and consecrated life. And because of that idea about the Good Shepherd, I'm going to tell you about 3 priests I know. And don't worry, in 3 weeks on Mother's Day, I'm going to focus on women. So back to our fathers. It's very important to have objectivity when we think about our fathers. So our model for all fatherhood is Jesus Christ. So whenever our own dads imitate Jesus, that's great. Let's thank our dads for that and let's imitate them. But let's also be very clear when our own fathers, including me, don't follow Jesus the Good Shepherd, because we don't want to be misled. Jesus says today, I am the Good Shepherd. The Good Shepherd lays down his life for the sheep. The hired hand, who is not the shepherd and does not own the sheep, sees the wolf coming and leaves the sheep and runs away, because a hired hand does not care for the sheep. There are still inscriptions, or like coins, on which the kings of Babylon and Assyria, they were referred to as shepherds. The kings were referred to as shepherds because it was their duty to rule and to protect. Now, the Jewish people, they thought God was their shepherd. And what was really interesting in their history, eventually they came to understand that the shepherd will die for the sheep and will rise again. So that's the one distinguishing characteristic. The good shepherd lays down his life. So if we ever think about who's a good shepherd, who's a good father, a good father is someone who not only takes care of his children, but actually lays down his life for them. Now, my father, he did love me, but I don't think I can actually say that my father laid down his life for me. I don't think my father ever thought about that. So my father, he loved our family. He made sacrifices for us. But I think, honestly, his primary pursuit in life was to make himself happy. So whenever we talk about this idea, to lay down your life, to lay down one's life means I sacrifice my life, my dreams, even my health for the good of others. This is Father Frank Doyle. So I met Father Doyle when I was 14 years old. I loved talking to him. I remember one time I just walked up to his rectory. I knocked on the door, rang the doorbell. I was like, hey, can we talk? I had no idea he had a schedule. Don't do that to me, please. So I just love talking to him. So whenever you've heard me talk about the priest who inspired me to be a priest, this is he. So Father Doyle was very smart, very wise, very funny, and then very kind. And one thing he told me that just inspired me so much, when he was 18 years old, he left Ireland to go train in the Philippines, to join the Jesuits in the Philippines. That's where he got his training. And he never saw his family again until 10 years later. And when I thought about that, I was like, wow, that's awesome. Could you imagine giving up your life, give up your family so that people halfway around the world can have spiritual life? That's amazing, and also really cool because Father Doyle spent most of his mission in Hong Kong. When we went out for Chinese food once, he's speaking Cantonese. It's awesome. They're like the waiters and the waitresses were blown away. This guy speaks Cantonese so well. So that's great. But here's the most important thing. I saw in Father Doyle a shepherd who lays down his life for other people. So I encountered this reality. Wow, this is possible. And so I said, just in my heart, it resonated. I was like, yeah, that's what life is about. I want to be like that. Now, of course, I'm focusing on kind of spiritual fathers examples today. But there is a number of fathers here. I see you, the way you lay down your life. I think in particular of Deacon Andrew. Deacon Andrew, good father. So if you ever think about good fathers, I know there's a number of you, you're always praying, you're always pushing, you're always serving. So a lot of good examples here. Now Jesus contrasts the good shepherd with the hired hand. Now the hired hand is not a bad person. Jesus, in the earlier part of this parable, he talks about the thief. Now, what is the thief? The thief, he says, kills. What does the hired hand do? The hired hand runs away whenever there's suffering. So can we start reflecting, do we know any fathers in our lives, just trying to be objective, who have run away whenever there's suffering? For example, it's more common, unfortunately, in our society for men, fathers, to abandon their children than for mothers. It's more common for young men to check out and not take responsibility. Like it's rare to see a young woman wasting her life on video games, just living off her parents. Typically, a young woman will have a job and volunteer. It's more common, unfortunately, to see young men not fulfilling their potential, not ready to be fathers. So Jesus has this beautiful contrast, three choices. There's the good shepherd, there's the thief, and then there's the hired hand. So it almost points to what sometimes people talk about today. There are three possibilities for being a man. You can be a protector, a predator, or a possum. So you got the good shepherd, the thief, and the hired hand. Three options for men. I can be a protector, or I can be a predator, or I can be a possum. Jesus says, the hired hand sees the wolf coming and leaves the sheep and runs away because a hired hand does not care for the sheep. It's such a beautiful gift Jesus gives us. He gives us the ability to care, and it's a choice. We can choose. One of the most beautiful decisions in life for men to make is, I choose to care for others. So this is very hopeful. The second priest I want to tell you about is my brother. A lot of you have met him since he's come by, Father Garrick. He told me something a few years ago. Our dad never taught us to be responsible. So when I was growing up, teenager, I was watching 4 hours of TV a day. Yes, sweet. Always handing in my homework late. But deep down, I actually did want to help people. I just didn't know how to kind of get over that until I was shown. And my brother, Father Garrick, he told me when he was at UBC and before he entered the seminary, he made himself a promise that he was never going to be without a job because Dad, for about 10 years, had no job through his own fault. And that was very painful for the whole family. So my brother, he sees that. I don't want to be like that. So he makes a decision, I'm never going to be without a job. So now as a priest, he's extremely responsible, extremely dedicated. When I asked him, have you ever thought about coming back to Vancouver to serve as a priest here? He said his heart is with the Quebec Catholics. He's there to serve them, presumably for life. And finally, our Lord says, for this reason, the Father loves me, because I lay down my life in order to take it up again. No one takes it from me, but I lay it down of my own accord. I have power to lay it down, and I have power to take it up again. So the sacrifice Jesus offered wasn't thrust upon him from the outside. It was a free choice. So beautiful. No one is going to force us to be a protector or to be responsible. It's a free choice. It's a choice we get to make. And Jesus points out that the Father loves Jesus because Jesus loves the way the Father loves. And so this is the opportunity, the grace we're given by God's power, by His grace. We can choose to love the way Jesus and the Father loves, and for that reason, the Father loves us. So if we could all just reflect today on one question, and of course this question is particularly for us men. Jesus says to all of us, I lay down my life so that you could live. In what way can you lay down your life so that others may live? I lay down my life so that you could live. In what way can you lay down your life so that others may live? There are a number of other spiritual fathers I can tell you about. Here's the third one. This is Father Alban Riley. So Father Alban has been my spiritual director since 2001. He is a completely different personality than I am. He's very calm. He's very patient. He's very bookish. And so a lot of what I try to give you has been what Father Alban gave me. So whenever I've been discouraged, Father Alban would always try to put things in perspective. Whenever I was overreacting, he would keep me very balanced. Father Alban always gave me the truth. He told me what was a sin and what wasn't, and he gave me time to think it over. And Father Alban is extremely intelligent. He speaks multiple languages. And because of that, he always gave me well-researched opinions, and he never overreached. And years ago, I told another monk, I said, Father Alban saved my life because he truly helped me at a time when I was struggling. So none of the priests I have mentioned are perfect. I am aware of their faults. And the key is, don't follow the faults. Our model is Jesus Christ. So let's imitate the good qualities of our fathers, especially laying down our lives for others.